just kind of monitor yourself. For the readers, for Monk and Lady Di, I want to thank you both very, very much for coming here to read with us tonight, to kick off the new year. We know it's going to be a good one. You will see me mostly because I'm actually going to be writing down everybody's name for the open mic. You will see me kind of come in and come out, so as not to distract from everybody. So without any further ado, good friend of ours, he's read for us at the gazebo on a number of occasions, and so we welcome here to the Oceanside Library, Poets Near and Afar, our good friend Monk.
Thanks, Tony. I see hands moving, and that's good enough. Thanks, Tony, for having this and hosting it, and thank you all for not listening to YouTube or being on your cell phone and making time to listen to some poetry. It's important to listen nowadays. And I got a few family members listening in, and I see a high school friend that I haven't seen in like 40 years. So, hey, Jordan. All right, I'm going to begin with a couple of pieces. My new book is poetic nonfiction, and it's called Moving Through the Empty Gate Forest. So a couple of pieces from that will give a flavor. There were a bunch of titles for this book before the one that became the title. What convinced this traveler, seeing a blue jay land inside him and move through a holiday season wreath hanging on the patio in view from the desk where much of this book was written and edited. No big deal for a blue jay to move through a hole, an empty space. Yet the confluence of events and timing that made that happen are beyond rational, beyond the visibility of the naked eye. Blue jay through a wreath, nothing there. Yet the form of the wreath makes the action significant. Form and formless, gate and gateless, hence empty gate. Downhill ski slalom gives a similar example of moving through gates, empty gateways, nothing there, yet precision and an immense amount of training, skill, and in the moment ability help make the experience happen. Yet another way to consider an empty gate barrier is a crossroads with no visible gates. Much of life presents key moments when you must decide, and or it's decided for you which way to go. You may not know it at the time, but moving through or not moving through a particular invisible gate or going in a certain direction may make all the difference. On his way to enlist in the Army for World War II, my father happened to see a man on the street who happened to mention a nearby recruitment office for the Navy. Who knows? Had my dad gone into the Army instead, this traveler may not have been born in this physical body. And the next piece is about, well, we're called human, some people call us human beings. The next piece is about a tree called a copper beech. So I call it a copper beech tree being. And this is actually a piece of the bark that I have as a emotional souvenir, because the copper beech is no longer standing where it was when I wrote this. Storying. When this traveler sits with and observes the copper beech tree being, what comes to heart-mind is what has been written or experienced by human beings is only a small part of the story, because insects crawled through and the inner bark breathes, feels moisture, adjusts to seasonal heatings and coolings. The copper beech speaks for itself with creaks and leaves. This tree worn like an old book with its own stories to tell. Not just the stories in the bark, in the book, but the stories of the bark, of the book itself, the making, the wear and tear, those who have touched the thin skinned pages and felt touched by those fibers, upon who by accident or carelessness a reader spilled something or a fingerprint, or a wisp of spaghetti sauce in the heat of eating dinner alone, while also the heat of the story, turning a page, the smudge of tomato becoming part of the book, the way the insect is sometimes part of the tree. The book, not a static thing, nor the tree static, though standing there in deep contemplation, recalling all the stories, planning how and where growing next, seeking more light, feeling the absolute stillness pierced with the reverberating song of a bird at dusk, at dawn. And the next piece is my dad passed away in 1990. A few years ago, my mom gave me a pair of his gloves, and that prompted this poem. It's called My Father's Gloves. My father's gloves are warm and fuzzy on the inside, the outside brown and smooth, perhaps suede. I don't know, but I'm raking leaves. November's biting sense of humor blowing them to interrupt the work, but really making the work harder. Yet there's a sunny and blue sky brisk, so it is a good flow of breath and wind and grasping at scattering dried brown wisps of summer's green memories. Not being one to hoard for memory's sake, these gloves are one of the only physical links to my father, aside from the flesh and bone of me. He having slipped off the gloves, so to speak, some years ago. But when I put them on, like a magician with nothing up his sleeves, he comes to visit, shakes my hands, says, carry on with the work. Suns shine, highlighting the time of day. Thanks for the visual clappings. The next poem's a little longer, and some may recognize the Zapatistas there's a brief mention of Zapatistas, who are the original indigenous peoples in Mexico, or some of. It's called, But When I Touched Your Skin. I saw your Buddha nature in the Buddha poster on the wall, my father's eyes in the man on the street, your blue eyes in the May afternoon sky. Tried to count the blades of grass in the lawn, but could not wrap my mind around the number. The pockmarked apocalypse packed its bags and disappeared, so the people would web search to find out that it really meant a lifting of the veil, revelation. I didn't see my Zapatista nature in the internet picture of the face with a black balaclava, but I experienced it when the afternoon sun hit the white metal rain gutter on the side of the house. I didn't see nothing because it was so bright, but it spoke of a white fire that cleanses the soul, and the light bathing from the long days of the solar cycle. But when I touched your skin, the drone of Buddhists chanting in the horrific machinery of suburban manicured lawns. But in the lilacs, all I could smell was lilacs. In the cut grasses. In the rosemary. Then dusk lingered in the mouth, speechless, like chocolate, melting on the quivering tongue-red horizon. Broken dreams in the artillery of pawns marching across borders, choking on the dust of deserts while elitists chuckle broadly over broads and cocktails in air-conditioned glass hotels when they should know better than to throw stones. But when I touched your skin, I did not see the Buddha nature in birds, blinded from the Fukushima fallout, but it was felt as night fell over the town. A light went on inside when day broke bright again. A man wore black, and so I saw the yin-yang nature of the world, but could not wrap my mind around the rainbow, nor why the materialists would want to desecrate the Grand Canyon by mining uranium. But after discussing it with a friend, we realized the root of the problem is mine and yours. But when we touch a human being's skin, And this one was written in May of last year. On a lot of my poems that are topical get posted at a news website called axisoflogic.com. And this is called Manifesting Destiny. And it has an epigraph from a poem by Langston Hughes from his poem Harlem. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun or fester like a sore and then run? Manifesting destiny. The domesticated West, afraid of the wilderness, became a wild Western of random shootings, a history of unprocessed emotions and now processed foods, adding to the toxic recipe of dissatisfied citizen consumers. Many trying to feed off of the high, feed off of the spoils of war. Colombia, war for drugs, cocaine, peace for the plant medicine coca. Afghanistan, war for drugs, heroin, peace for the poppy floral medicines. Where we're going depends on where we think we're supposed to go. But only a few claiming God-like vision decided for everyone this manifesting destiny gone global, where some who don't get their share go deranged. The Kazan school shooter in Russia, leaving 9 dead and more wounded after sociopathology media posting, I am like a god, begging the answer that any god who would do such a thing is no god. Actual destiny does not manifest until the fruit of hard work pours forth from a community of hands with no boss, working a field. But after sundown, sometimes the best I can do is pray that every man, woman, and child find their way. Or I hum a tune like Corinne Bailey Rae singing Sapphire and Faded Jeans. I hope you get your dreams. In her song, Put Your Records On. I hope you get your dreams so you don't fester, dry up, or run. And this one was written as a birthday present from my mom a few years ago. And the title is called Meeting with a Remarkable Woman, and it comes from a book written by Gurdjieff, who was a Russian philosopher, mystic, and spiritual teacher, also of Armenian and Greek descent. And his book called Meetings with Remarkable Men. And my mom years ago took classes and studied the Gurdjieff philosophy or way of life. So that's mentioned in the poem, Meeting with a Remarkable Woman. If someone doesn't have anyone to listen, she becomes an ear. If someone has grown lonely in the silence, she becomes a voice. If someone is unable to carry a grocery bag, she becomes an arm. If someone is heartbroken, her heart gets bigger so as to remind the someone the way of healing. If someone has lost their vision, she paints a painting. If someone has forgotten what a human being is, she paints a portrait. If someone doesn't have a friend, she becomes the friend. If someone doesn't have a mother, she becomes the mother. If someone doesn't have a grandmother, an aunt, a sister, she becomes. If someone doesn't have a guide, she becomes the mentor. This mysterious stranger, what her name Barbara signifies, a student of the mystic Gurdjieff, paraphrases his teachings. Pleasant to sit in your comfy robe and slippers by the fireplace, reading about what's best for you and how to handle things, but that's not enough. You have to go out into the world. And going out into the world is an ongoing birthing of one's self. And so, my sweet, strong-spirited mother shows others how to mother themselves. And I'm gonna finish up with some haiku with which I do the singing bowl. So maybe you get a sound check. Is that okay? Give me a nod, Tony. That's okay. All right, there's a singing bowl. And the haiku are going to go from December to spring. All over my bathroom floor, December full moon. After New Year's fireworks, the pure sounds of a flock of geese. New Year's Day quiet, but the shore waters slapping the sands. Gray winter day, Lady Cardinal's orange beak, a miniature sun. See that tree standing tall in the freezing cold? What's your story? Must be good friends, three sparrows gathering on a lilac branch. Protect Mother Earth and respect the spirit in all beings.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you,
listening.
Monk. Thank you so much. Can unmute yourselves and give them a round of applause?
Really good. I enjoyed that last
Excellent.
one.
Thank you very much.
The mystic, the mystic in me.
There you go. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Monk. Always, always, always wonderful. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Tony.
Nice imagery.